Om Shanti. Few months back, we heard this horrible story of Aftab who actually chopped his lover's body into some 30-60 pieces um, and threw it into a forest area. And he was actually in a live-in relationship with his girlfriend Shraddha Walker. So what is more horrible is the similar kind of incidents repeat itself over the past few days. And very recently, Nikki was murdered in Delhi by her live-in partner, and also in Maharashtra, Megha was killed similarly by her live-in partner. This brings us to an important question, whether or not live-in relationship is for India. Whether live-in relationship provides any kind of protection for girls. Why do people opt for live-in relationship? Why not get married? Because if in the future the couple plan to get separated, it saves them a lot of time waiting for years in courts to legally divorce each other before they get on to the next relationship. So that's the main reason people opt for live-in relationships. But it also comes with the negative side. So it actually helps the guy with a womanizing attitude to benefit from live-in relationship, because he can secretly have a married life while he is very much in a live-in relationship. I believe men prefers live-in relationship solely for that purpose. But if he was into a marriage relationship, obviously he couldn't get married again, because he has to produce the divorce certificate or the death certificate of the first wife before he gets married to another girl. But with live-in relationship, that's not the case. There is absolutely nothing he has to provide before he gets married. He could very well do it while he was in a live-in relationship. So live-in relationship is definitely a trap for Indian girls. No parent of a girl is going to approve of live-in relationship. So the girls entering live-in relationships will definitely be doing that without the knowledge of their parents, or by opposing their parents. Either way, if something happens while they were in the live-in relationship, obviously they are not going to get support from their parents, which is going to be very advantageous for the guy involved if he happens to be a womanizer. The main reason Nikki and Shraddha were killed by their boyfriends was infidelity. So they couldn't do anything about stopping their boyfriends from getting married to another girl, or from avoiding their boyfriends to enter into live-in relationship with another girl. Though they can't take legal action against their boyfriends, but still they can pose emotional threat. They can reach the other party that's going to get married to this guy, and they can stop that marriage. So that's the only threat that gets in the way of him getting married to another girl. So that is the main reason they were frightened and they wanted to remove this girl. That's why they murdered this girl, thinking that nobody would be searching for this girl, because anyway they were not in contact with their parents. Other than that, it's not a big issue. If a friend calls them, they are not going to get suspicious. Most of the time they are going to think either they are avoiding them or there would be some network problem. Live-in relationships is definitely not for India. It is for Westerners. The reason is our soul has lost the power to face any adverse situations. So that is the reason these girls that got murdered were unable to digest the fact that their boyfriends were willing to get out of that relationship, because the very idea behind entering into a live-in relationship is to get out of the relationship whenever they need. That's the main idea behind it. But they somehow got brainwashed into thinking that it is an alternative for marriage. It is definitely not. It is just something to try before marriage in your selection process for your prospective partner. In Western culture, it is entirely different. They were quite aware of that. While they were in a live-in relationship, they did not get emotionally attached to each other. They just wanted to see for themselves if the other person is the right person for them. Because when they live in together, they believe that their negative sides will open up so that they can see for themselves if they can actually withstand those negatives and continue the relationship further, so that it will definitely be proceeded into marriage if it actually works. So that's their idea. But here in India, they think live-in relationship itself is an alternative for marriage. It is not. Whether it is the infidelity problem or the financial problem, you will face it both in live-in relationships and married relationships. But the difference between both of them is you have the option to get out of the relationship when these problems get out of control. But in marriage, that is not an option. You won't think about it because you know the cost of leaving the marriage. First, you have to wait for years to get the divorce, and you have to give huge amounts of money in alimony even after getting divorced. So that is something no man wants to happen. The very fact that these women were tortured and eventually killed by their partner in live-in relationship says that the domestic violence is far worse in live-in relationships than that of marriage. So the live-in relationships provide absolutely no protection to girls. What's most shocking in Nikki's murder is her boyfriend, soon after killing Nikki, got married to another girl on the very same day. And he confessed to the police that his parents pressurized him to get married to another girl. Whether or not they were aware of the fact that he was living with Nikki is unknown. And it is only the day before his marriage to another girl that Nikki came to know of his marriage, and she started confronting him. She started having a huge fight with him. So that made him to use the mobile charger to strangle her to death. And he took her dead body in his car to his dhaba, which is a restaurant, and he kept her whole body in a refrigerator, similar to that of Shraddha Walker's murder case. You can't expect Sri Ram in Kali Yuga. So if you think your guy is going to be Sri Ram after marriage or after being in live-in relationship, you will definitely be deceived. But at least in marriage, he can't take the risk of divorcing her, because that's going to put more pressure on guys. But in live-in relationship, it is very easy for him to escape out of this live-in relationship and get married to some other girl. And in Megha's murder case, Megha was working as a nurse and his boyfriend was living off her salary because he was unemployed. So there used to be quarrel between them regarding money, which is quite obvious. So on one such quarrel he got really tense and he killed her and he hid her body beneath the bed and he left the place. It is only a week after that the neighbors couldn't take the bad smell coming from that house that they started complaining to the police. Then they found out about this murder and they finally nabbed the boyfriend. Although this is what the boyfriend confessed to the police, I strongly believe that there should be another girl in his mind for which he decided to kill this girlfriend who comes in the way of him getting married to another girl. And in Shraddha's murder case, the boyfriend was having multiple affairs while he was in live-in relationship with Shraddha, and that's the reason for the problem between them. Moreover, there were financial issues as well, and at one point he decided to kill her. Even he hid her body inside the fridge, and while her body is in his apartment, he was having dates coming to his home and he was having physical relationship with them. Just think about how cruel a man who is lustful can be. There is absolutely no need for us to import the Western culture of living together, because in Western countries they have no choice. They have to look for their partner for themselves. They have to do it by themselves, but that's not the case in India. Our parents take that responsibility of finding the partner for us. On the surface, it looks as if what do parents know about the girl who is going to be the right match for me, or the guy who is going to be the right match for me. But what we have forgotten is, if we give that responsibility of finding the life partner for us to our parents, what we are actually doing is we pay absolutely no interest for lust. Because if we are going to choose our life partner on our own, trust me, lust is going to play the major role. It is the external beauty, it is only the external beauty that you are going to pay much attention to. So that will definitely deceive you, because whatever decision you decide when you are under the influence of lust, anger, greed, attachment or ego, it is definitely going to turn wrong. It is definitely going to cause more and more difficulties than you can imagine. Only if you show no interest or no importance, if you pay no importance to lust, will you give the responsibility of finding the partner to your parents. Likewise, they are obviously going to look for the bride or groom who also has given the responsibility of finding the partner for them to their parents. So obviously both did not give any importance to the lust even before marriage. So obviously it is going to continue even after marriage. So that itself is going to solve 90% of the issue in the marriage, because most of the divorces happen mainly due to infidelity. So if you show no importance to lust even before marriage, then obviously even after marriage you are not going to give any importance to lust. So obviously you will not look for other girls or other guys. So that is very necessary for the peaceful married life. And next comes the financial problem. So just as you find many guys uh, that have become addicted to sex, we see many girls that get addicted to shopping. So many guys I know of deal with this issue by not revealing their actual income to their wives, because once they know it, they will start spending with that in their mind. So in order to reduce it, they just keep their income secretly and they just allot some uh, money for the budget for the month. So when they have no money, they are very good at making expenses within that money. So that's how they uh, face this financial crisis. The same can be used by working women in case the guy is jobless. Whether you are in a married relationship or live-in relationship, no woman is going to accept her partner to be jobless. So majority of women are going to pose some serious threats when their partner is jobless. So that is the reason in these cases as well. So it is essential that if a guy is jobless, it is better on his part not to enter into marital relationship or live-in relationship or to get committed to any kind of relationship. But it is not a problem for the women to be jobless after marriage or while in live-in relationship. It is very easy to enter live-in relationship, but it is going to be extremely difficult to come out of the live-in relationship. When one decides to walk out of the live-in relationship, the other one is going to get suicidal. Although both men and women cheat, but it is the female victims that's going to get more hurt. The main thing one should do to stay peaceful after marriage is to give up sex and lustful thoughts totally as soon as possible after marriage. That can be achieved only by being in remembrance of God. So God resides in a golden red colored light world as a point of light. So he is also a soul just like us. We souls reside in between the eyebrows, which is why Hindus have this habit of applying tilak in between the forehead. So the difference between God and us is we enter this birth and death cycle in this 5,000 year kalpa, a 5,000 year time cycle called kalpa. So this world was heaven in the beginning for the first 2,500 years, and now it is hell. The main difference between heaven and hell, other than the wealth, obviously heaven would be filled with wealth, like people would be living in houses, palaces made of golden bricks, but you know the condition now. So in addition to that, there is a very big difference between the characters of the residents of heaven and residents of hell. And as a matter of fact, we used to live in heaven in the beginning. It is the same soul that resided in heaven as deities after taking several rebirths or now living in hell. While we were in heaven, we were as pure as God himself. By pure, I mean that we were absolutely free of these five vices: lust, anger, greed, attachment, and ego. And as a result, we experience nothing but blissfulness, because there should be the vices to make you feel sorrow or pain. Since we are free from these five vices, there were absolutely no reasons for you to be worried about. So everything we see, listen, hear, think about, everything gives nothing but happiness. So that's why it was called heaven. The main reason for that is we were soul conscious. We considered ourselves to be the souls that sees through the eyes, speaks through the mouth, listens through the ears, performs all actions through this body. Despite that, we are not this body, we are the one that controls this body. So that was the case for first 2500 years, and because we were aware of that we are souls and our attention was constantly on the soul, we experienced constant blissfulness, because the true nature of the soul itself is blissfulness. But after 2500 years we became body conscious, we forgot the fact that we were souls, and that is the main reason we were not able to experience blissfulness that we once experienced continuously by our attention on the soul. Now, since we do not experience happiness from within, we started experiencing happiness by indulging in sensual pleasures. We started depending on external things for us to remain happy. So that's not going to stay for long. That is why it is called short-lived pleasures. So those sensual pleasures will make our soul become unconscious. By becoming unconscious, our soul, or the mind and intellect that is within soul, can no longer decide between right or wrong. As a result, we end up making wrong decisions, thereby committing more and more sins. Thereby we start experiencing punishments in the form of various diseases, relationship problems and natural calamities and so on. And that is the reason the once beautiful, healthy, wealthy human beings, after taking several rebirths towards the end of Kali Yuga, is deprived of everything that we originally possessed in the beginning. And God says, it is because you becoming body conscious that you have lost everything. So to regain everything, because this world is going to become heaven again, just 100 years before the destruction of Kali Yuga or the old world, God himself enters an old man's body and gives this knowledge. So that God is called Shiva by Hindus, Heavenly Godfather by Christians, and Allah by Muslims. God is one. He comes in the end to give us the teachings to become soul conscious again. How do we do that? By considering ourselves to be the souls, and by connecting our mind to the Supreme Soul, God Shiva, who appears as a point of light in the gold and red colored world. By spending as much time as possible in remembrance of God, our soul becomes more and more pure. So we were originally filled with power of purity in heaven, Satya. But after taking several rebirths, our power of purity decreases gradually. It is because the power of purity decreases, our mind enters the sleepy state. So the only way for our souls to wake up is when it confronts something that gives sensual pleasures. So the number one sensual pleasure is obviously the lust, which is why lust is called the greatest enemy for humankind. So by being in remembrance of God as much as possible, our soul becomes powerful enough to get rid of the worldly attractions and get rid of five vices. And for that, in addition to remembering God as a point of light, we also need to keep our mind busy with churning the direct knowledge of God, which is taught directly by God through that old man's mouth. His name is Brahma. So that direct knowledge of God is called Murli, which is available absolutely free of cost in all Brahma Kumaris Rajyog meditation centers. I'll be giving the links of the websites and YouTube channels that provide Murli in the description below. You can also Google yourself for the nearest Brahma Kumaris center in your area, and enroll yourself. It's going to be free, and what you are going to listen from Brahmakumari Center is nothing but the direct knowledge of the one God. So God's knowledge is very much essential, especially at this point of time, because our soul has become so weak that we have absolutely no control over our mind. So we are unable to conquer lust, conquer anger, conquer great attachment or ego. So that is the main reason we are saying marriage is falling apart. We are seeing gruesome murders that happen both in live-in relationships and in marriage relationships. So it is better not to get married if you want to stay peaceful. Moreover, you will not have the burden of looking after the family. So it's going to be beneficial from all sides. But in case you are married already, or you prefer to get married for some reason, at least take this knowledge soon after getting married, or at least after giving birth to a child. So that, because that's the only thing that's going to guarantee peaceful life. Because if lust enters the mind of either one of the partners or both, that's going to mess up your married life. So that's going to create a dark future for your children. So it is very essential not to love anybody before getting married, because if you have this habit of falling in love, obviously people are addicts to movies and love songs. So that is the main reason people fall in love. They think it is natural. It is not natural. There were absolutely no sexual attraction while we were in heaven. We didn't know what lust, anger, greed or attachment while we were in heaven. That is the reason we built temples to those deities without even knowing that we were originally deities in the beginning. And that's why God comes to remind us of this fact and makes us worthy of worship again. Because if you were in love with somebody or with many before getting married, as it is quite common these days, what happens after marriage is obviously you are going to see the negative side of your partner. Then you are going to compare that with your ex-boyfriends or girlfriends. So obviously it's going to appear that your ex-boyfriends were far better than this particular partner, because that's the trick played by your mind to make you feel sorrow. But if you pay no attention to lust, if you don't give even a trace of lust to enter your mind in the form of love or in the form of opposite sex attraction before getting married, then your married life is going to be amazing. Because you are not, it is because you have the thought about your exes that the negative things that you see in your partner is going to be amplified. So just think for a second, even before getting married, if your partner has no control over his mind, and that is the main reason he fell in love with you, how do you expect him to have control over his mind after the marriage? Do you think some magic will happen soon after marriage? And another important tip to stay peaceful after marriage is, even if it is a live-in relationship, if you have already started it, is whenever you see something negative and your mind starts to talk about it, don't encourage it. Put an end to it right then. In other words, while you are in a relationship, your focus should always be on the benefits that you derive from that relationship and never on the losses that you incur in that relationship. Obviously, you are going to have both. You are definitely going to have some benefits, you will definitely have some drawbacks. So the main benefits that's common in all relationships includes the someone to trust apart from your parents, because it's very difficult to find someone trustworthy in this world. So you are lucky enough to get someone like that. Focus on that. So you have someone loving you more than your parents. You have someone who is going to take care of you even after the death of your parents. So don't you think it is very beneficial? Why do you need anything more than this? But obviously you will definitely be getting more benefits than this. For example, you will be having someone to cook nice meals for you, and if your partner is the breadwinner for the family, you have someone to financially support your family so that you don't have to worry about going to work anymore. Especially in India, it is common that many women don't go to work after marriage, mainly because they don't want to. Always consider your life partner to be your child. So you will obviously forgive the mistakes of your child, right? Just have that motherly love for each other. At least you have it for the other person, whether or not he or she gives it back to you. And always promise yourself that if somebody is going to walk out of this relationship, let it be the other person, and I will never be that. Even if you have a hint of the other person cheating on you, make sure you are never going to do that. And for girls, if you don't want your partner to get out of the live-in relationship, then why did you enter the live-in relationship in the first place? Because live-in relationship is basically made for us to escape that whenever we want to. If you are very firm in holding on to that person, why can't you get married in the first place? If you are already in a live-in relationship, please get married soon, because that's the only thing that's going to protect you. You don't have to enter the live-in relationship to understand each other. You can easily understand each other by spending time with each other. Obviously, you'd be in love with the person who is near you at workplace or at study place, right? So obviously you will get to know each other. So it is only because you give importance to lust that you enter live-in relationship. So obviously, as I mentioned in the beginning of this video, whatever decision you take under the influence of lust, it is definitely going to be proved wrong. It is going to bring more harmful effects. For girls, only marriage provides the protection from family members, from the society, from the law. So why not make use of it? Live-in relationship benefits only the male partner of the live-in relationship. Om Shanti. Thanks for watching.